What's going on, everybody? Alonzo here with GulfCoastSmoke.com, and today I'm going to show you how to grill steaks. So just to piggyback off of our last video where we showed you how to start a fire in a charcoal grill, it was really easy. We want to make sure that we're showing you guys all of the tips and tricks that we know when it comes to grilling. So like we talked about last video, this is a great hobby, but if you don't know what you're doing, it can be a little bit overwhelming. And obviously you don't want to just go out and buy meat and then ruin it. I've done it 100 times. I promise you, I've messed up briskets, steaks. I mean, sometimes I still mess up. You guys just don't see it. So it's okay. Don't ever be discouraged. But today we're going to talk about 3 different ways to grill a steak. We're going to talk about the reverse sear. We're going to talk about the forward sear. And then we're going to talk about direct grilling. So the reverse sear is when you start the steak on the indirect side or the side with no coals under it. And then once it gets closer to your target temperature, you finish it over those hot coals to get that nice sear. A forward sear is literally just the opposite. So we start it over the hot coals, we get a nice sear to start, and then we'll pull it indirect to let it finish nice and slow. The last and my favorite way to do it is to do it direct the whole time. So I will consistently be flipping the steak. You don't want to leave it on one side for too long. You're going to get a really nice crust and you're going to get a nice texture out of that steak. The one downfall to it is you typically are going to get a little bit of a gray band around your steak and it's not going to look perfect, medium rare, wall to wall. And I know a lot of people like to see that. They think that that's the only telltale sign that you nailed the steak. But I'm here to tell you, you guys need to make it however you want. But we're going to be showing you all of these techniques right now. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our charcoal starters lit so we can get this charcoal chimney ready to rock. Today I am going to let the coals light about 75% of the way, and then I'm going to be ready to toss it into my Weber kettle. And while we're waiting for our charcoal to get nice and hot, we're going to season up our ribeyes. Today we're going to be using Gulf Coast Smoke Southern Belle, but you guys can use any steak seasoning you'd like. I definitely recommend something with a little bit of coarseness. Southern Belle has a little bit of a coarse black pepper, and it goes great on steaks along with all those other flavors. So I'm fighting the wind, but I'm going to get these seasoned up on every single side. Today we're using 3 ribeyes that we got at a local store. And these are just choice grade, nothing too crazy. That's going to be fine for dinner. So I got the front and back, and then I'm going to use the seasoning that's on the board in order to try and get the sides. We do want every single side of this steak completely covered. And while the charcoal is getting hot, we're going to let the seasoning work on these steaks. It'll be about 15 minutes and then this is going to be ready. And that's not really enough time for the salts to completely penetrate the ribeye, but it'll be good. We did do a video where we tried a salt brine, and I'll tell you what, that to me makes a difference. And that is something I recommend you guys trying if you want. But seasoning 15-20 minutes ahead of your cook is going to be just fine for this. And about 15 minutes later, my coals are exactly where I want them. So today we're going to be using a 2-zone fire. And that just means that I'm going to have charcoal on this side of my grill, and over here there's going to be nothing. This space is going to be voided. So don't forget that this is still going to be hot, but it's not going to be over the direct coals. So you're going to be able to pull over here as a fail-safe. If you ever are doing chicken or anything and you feel like the grease is getting out of hand because of the fire, you can always pull it indirect, and that's why I like using 2 zones. And the first steak that we're going to start is going to be the reverse sear. So the reverse sear is going to start on the side that's opposite of the coals. So this is reverse sear. We'll sear it in the end. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to start the forward sear, because what we'll do is we'll sear it here first, and then we'll pull it right over here next to the reverse sear steak in order for it to finish. So I have my steak that we'll put directly over the coals. And we'll let it cook for 1 minute on this side, and then we're going to flip it and do a minute on the other. And we're going to look for the crust that we want. So keep in mind, when you're doing this at home, you want to make sure you get your desired crust. About a minute later, we're going to flip this over, and we can see that we're forming a nice crust. And that is exactly what I want to see. Probably another minute on this side, then 30 more seconds on the other side, and we're going to be ready to pull this indirect. So now we're just waiting for our reverse sear steak to get to around 110 degrees, and then we'll sear it to finish. But that forward sear steak is already around 120 degrees. We just need around 10 more degrees, and then it's ready to pull off. One thing I want you guys to remember is that when you're cooking, you're going to have carryover. And with these steaks, there is gonna be a little bit of different carryover based on how you're cooking it. So if you're cooking it over a direct fire the whole time, you're gonna get more of a carryover over the forward sear. And the reason is because the forward sear, we're not finishing it over direct heat. So it is gonna carry over a little bit, but it's not gonna have that harsh heat on it, and it's not gonna carry the meat even further. So if I was to give you a guideline, I would say around 5 to 7 degrees on the ones that we're going to reverse sear, and we're gonna be doing direct grilling the whole time. And on the one that we did a forward sear, maybe 2 to 3 degrees, but keep in mind that it 100% is going to carry over no matter how you're cooking it. Our reverse seared steak has reached around 110 degrees, so we're going to move it over to the direct side now. We're working on our sear. We're going to pull this around 130 degrees. Don't forget about that carryover. This is going to carry over a little bit further. And last but not least, this is the steak that we're going to be cooking over direct coals the whole time until it is done. I'm going to be flipping this every 30 seconds or so because it's going to be over the coals the whole time. And if I need to, I can pull it off to the indirect just to check the temp on it. By the way, I am using a thermopin in order to check the temperatures. I think that this is the best way to do it. I know a lot of people say you can touch it, feel it, all that stuff. I'm not that good. I've been grilling for a long time. I'm still not that good, so I'm always going to use a thermopin. Don't forget to keep flipping. You can see that we have a really nice color on this steak. It's going to be over the fire the whole time, and I'm really expecting for that texture to be there. So you can already see that the fat is starting to get nice and crispy, and to me, that's the best way to eat a steak. But like I said, I really don't do it as much like this because I want the pictures, I want the thumbnails and everything to look good. I know that sounds crazy, but you know, if we're cooking a steak, we have to make sure we nail it. Otherwise, we can get really crucified in the comments. But speaking of comments, drop down below. Do you guys like ribeyes? Do you guys like New York strips? What kind of steak do you guys like best? Another thing to keep in mind, just because we have this over direct heat the whole time, that fat that separates the eye and the cap, sometimes it'll separate. That's okay. Everything's still gonna taste really good. Now we have all of our steaks off, and we want these to rest at least 10 minutes before we slice into them. So we had these over direct heat or in the hot kettle, and we just want those muscles to relax. We want those juices to flow back into that ribeye for that juicy, tender, delicious bite. Don't forget to do that if you guys are cooking. Don't take it straight off the grill and then start slicing it up. I know it's hard, but I promise you, you worked this hard, you spent that money. Now you want to make sure your end product is perfect. And around 20 minutes later, we are done with all of our steaks. It didn't take too long at all for us to get all of these done, even the reverse seared one, because that kettle still stays very hot. We did have a fast cook time. So you'll notice that the one that we cooked over direct fire, it really doesn't look as nice as the other two. And that's just something to think about if you guys want to be impressing your guests, or if you have somebody coming over for the first time that's going to try your barbecue and you just want to make sure it looks good. Just keep that in mind. I really do prefer the texture, but when it comes to looks, I've told you guys already that I don't think it's the best. Now, if you look at the forward sear one, you have a great crust there. It feels really nice, and it just doesn't have that ugly look that the one that you cooked over direct fire has at all. And then, of course, the reverse seared one is the one that I think is almost the most foolproof, I would say. You keep it away from the fire for most of the time, and then you have around 2 to 3 minutes of sear, and it's really easy. Even if you overshoot a little bit, that's okay. Just enjoy the food, enjoy being outside, and that's what it's all about. If you guys enjoy our channel, go ahead and subscribe. We're almost to 6,000. We want to hit 10 by the end of the year, and I know you guys can help. First, we're going to slice the reverse sear ribeye right down the middle. And I want to show you guys that on camera. We have a nice medium steak, exactly the way we want it. I need to keep those Texas flies away from it, so let's move on to the next steak. Now for the forward seared steak. And the same thing here. We have a pretty consistent cook so far, so I know that the forward and the reverse sear are working really, really well for us today. And last but not least, this is the one that we cooked over the direct fire, and this one's going to have the most harsh effects to it. This one cooked a little bit longer, and we did have more carryover. This one's going to be for the kids, but I still think it turned out really good. And you guys already know I'm gonna take a bite of one of these ribeyes, but it's time to go inside and have dinner with the family, so we're going to end the video here. Let me know if you guys learned something today. Let me know if you enjoy videos like this. I am trying to make it a little simple, and I want everybody to know that there's a lot to learn with grilling, but it's a really fun and amazing hobby that we do 3 to 5 times a week. I'm not exaggerating. We really just love doing this. So let me know down below if you guys are enjoying videos like this. Come on. Grilled ribeye, Southern Belle, can't beat it. Outrageous. I hope everyone's having a great week, and as always, I really appreciate you guys tuning into this video. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.